Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to talk about VCE oral exams for Chinese Second Language and Chinese Second Language Advanced. If you're doing Unit 3 and 4 Chinese, you'll probably hear VCE oral exams a lot. It normally happens in October and it lasts about approximately 15 minutes. The purpose of the oral exam is designed to assess students' knowledge and skills in using spoken Chinese. So there are two sections in the oral exam. The first section is a conversation and that lasts about 7 minutes. The second section is discussion, which is about 8 minutes long. Please note your assessor will ask you what your discussion topic is at the very start of your oral exam. And the reason is that they don't want to repeat their questions in section 1 and section 2. Each section will be marked separately and each section is 20 marks. Communication and content is 10 marks and language is also 10 marks. So as you can see, not only the accuracy of vocabulary, grammar and pronunciation is marked, the assessor is also looking at the relevance, the evidence, the capacity to maintain a conversation in your oral exam. So how do I prepare for my oral exams? You will need to write your scripts for both sections. The ideal timeline is that you finish your script of general conversation at the start of term 1 in year 12 and you finish your discussion script by start of term 2 so that you have enough time in term 3 and 4 to refine your scripts and memorize them. How do I write my script? You will need to ask yourself as many questions as possible. You will then write down those questions and answers down. Then this means, yes, it is an ongoing document. So even though you've finished your script by the time that I suggested, I still think that you should go over your script quite often to see if there's other questions that you have missed the first time. Please try to avoid answer those questions with just yes and no or very simple answers. You do need to provide evidence to support your answers. And as we have seen earlier, that your content and communication also will be marked for your oral exam. And let's move on to section 1. So how much do I need to write for each question to prepare my script, you may ask? I think 40-second rule is pretty good. So when you're preparing for your script, I really want you to prepare something that you can actually talk about for 40 seconds. Roughly, that is about 100 characters. I feel that gives you enough to provide sufficient and relevant evidence to each question. However, when you were doing the oral exam, you may not be able to answer every question in 40 seconds. The examiners may stop you or will stop you depending on the time. And that is totally fine to be stopped as long as you have answered those questions. So Chinese Second Language and Chinese Second Language Advanced both has a prescribed themes and topics. This can be found on your page 12 of your study design from VCA website. Section 1 of your general conversation is based on the very left column of this prescribed topics and themes, and it is called Personal World. Here are some examples of the questions or the aspects that you may be asked in your general conversation section. Some students find it really hard to ask questions about themselves, to themselves. I want you to imagine if you are telling your mom at a dinner table that you just made a new good friend, which just happened to be the opposite gender. Think about all the questions that your mom will come up to ask about that person. It will be a good start to your script for general conversation. Here is an example of the 40-second rule. 你今年几岁? Or 你今年多大了? Instead of just answering the age, you may want to provide some more information about yourself, such as this one. 我今年16岁，属蛇。很多人认为属蛇的人不热情，与人有距离感，而我的性格却恰恰相反。我的性格开朗大方，乐于助人。我的兴趣爱好是弹钢琴、读书、听音乐、游泳。其中我最喜欢弹钢琴。我从6岁开始就弹钢琴，现在是钢琴10级。钢琴给我的生活带来了无穷无尽的乐趣。Now, when we look at this response, we can see that the initiate and maintain the conversation this person has done really well. It not only just answered the question from the assessor of the age, but also talked about her personality and her hobby. The examiner can then very easily ask the next follow-up question, which is 为什么说钢琴给你带来无穷无尽的乐趣? And then you can extend that conversation, or you can actually lead that conversation with the examiner. Okay, now we're up to section 2, discussion. How to choose a discussion topic is also in the prescribed themes and topics on page 12 of the study design, which you can find from VCA website. But this time is the middle column and the column on the right. Here are some examples of the topics that you might want to consider. So how do I select the topic? The main thing that you need to keep in mind is that your topic is related to the prescribed themes and topics. In this case, it is the language-speaking communities or the world around us. A few more things that you want to keep in mind when you're preparing for your script is whether your topic reflects some cultural values or whether you can compare your topic with other Chinese-speaking communities or the old days. So for example, if my discussion topic is 春节, I can do the comparison of Chinese people celebrating 春节 in China and Chinese people celebrating 春节 in Melbourne. I can also do the comparison between nowadays and 20 years ago of celebrations. I can also do the comparison of 春节 and 圣诞节 as part of my topic and research as well. Apart from preparing your script, you also need to find a good photo to take in with you to the oral exam. It needs to be a single image or a single photo. It cannot be larger than A3. If you can't find anything without Chinese characters, please keep them very limited on the photo, and it cannot be a collage. Here are 2 examples, and as we can see, the one on the left is the one that we want to take with us to the exam. That's it for today. If you have anything that you would like to know about VCE Chinese, please comment down below and I'll try to make the videos for you guys. Thank you and goodbye.